Hello everyone. So today we're going to take a look at the art of fasting accompaniment. Talk a little bit about that. So the news, I'm in Colombia. We've got our dry fasting retreat in Colombia starting soon. The first retreat on the American continent. So we're pioneers in the world of dry fasting, since no dry fasting has yet been organized on the American continent. So we're the first. So there you have it. We've developed Europe and now we're developing the American continent. So first retreat. After that, I also have dry fasting clients all over the world. So I travel and I also do individual coaching if people ask me to. I travel all over the world, so there's no need to worry. In the place where you are, there's always a place where you can find something suitable. You just need to find a rather natural spot with options for restoration, for refeeding. You just have to look for a place where you can organize a little food pickup. So we always make arrangements with hotels, places where we can explain what we're doing, and then we organize ourselves, we manage. So in other news, we've received a lot of compliments from our friends in Russia, and I'm still involved in dry fasting with fasters in Russia. We've received a lot of compliments because we've now perfected a method that's really very effective and works in depth. Our Russian friends have done a lot of physical training, so of course they're very interested in our work on the emotional side. Therefore, I think they are keen on bettering themselves and acquiring knowledge based on our established model. So they watch a bit of what we do, and then we received many compliments from them. That's very kind of them. They follow us on YouTube and via exchanges. And so there are also some very serious centers that exist in Russia. Then there are others, my goodness, that do work that is really not very clean and also very much in the commercial sector. Well, in any case, you will know where to turn. You will find the centers that suit you, that are right for you. So today, we're going to talk about the art of accompanying. Few global centers offer this art of accompanying during fasting. I haven't investigated the situation in France. I think there are some water fasting centers. I think there are a few people doing that. I don't really know what people do afterwards, if they offer holistic help or not. Juices, well, there are juice associations, juice diets, all that, it's well known. But I don't think it goes very deep into the psycho-emotional support when you have juice and broth diets over 5 or 6 days. After that, well, there may be some very nice people in these centers who may be doing a decent job. I don't really know these people. I used to work with these people. When I started my studies in fasting and naturopathy 20 years ago in France, I don't know, in those centers, afterwards I wasn't really convinced by the programs they offered. But for people who want to get started for a first approach, it's clear. For people who don't have too severe pathologies, who want to detox, who want to make a first attempt at fasting because it's not really fasting, you have these centers. But then that's not what we do. So today we're going to talk about the art of accompanying. So for me, it's vital, it's central to have support that's on the human side. There's no substitute for human observation. We follow fasters in their most successful, most effective fasting. You have everything that is beyond water fasting, beyond autophagy, beyond cellular cleansing, more cellular reprogramming. You have organ restoration that goes much deeper when you dry than in water. So it requires much more follow-up. It's clear that people who do juices and broths don't ask themselves too many questions because they know that nothing much is going to happen. So for the accompaniment, it's pretty safe, it's pretty relaxed. He's not going to stress too much. In principle, he won't see fasters in very serious difficulty. With dry fasting, it's just the opposite. We have people who quickly get into quite serious difficulties, and that's where support is needed to explain to people what they're going through, explain what a detoxification crisis is, explain the symptoms they're having, what the links are with their antecedents, with their past history. We can look at their past history, what they've had. We can make links with the crises they're having. It also requires getting to know the person on a human level, to have a presence at the fasting person's side. Nothing replaces this embodied side and the present that you need to have when accompanying someone. So you don't accompany pathologies. In Russia, I've been to places where people are treated for pathologies. We don't treat people on the human side with a story behind it. It's a bit like the anti-symptomatic approach found in allopathic medicine. When approaching pathologies, we mustn't approach the person on a pathological basis, but on his or her global holistic side, and then analyze the person's terrain and vitality. We take an anamnesis. We have measuring devices. We can see exactly where the person is at. We're at rare centers. I know there may be some young people centers that do it. I think there are some that use the BioWell camera. So we're now handing out an electroenergy balance sheet on the energy organs. We do it for every fasting person. We started this a year ago. Each person is given an assessment of where he or she stands in terms of health. What's fundamental is to know where the person is starting from, what the energy vitality level of each organ is. We test all systems and organs, so we know exactly where the person stands in terms of organ energy levels and vitality, and then we can really measure the effect of fasting. And if we see the person again 6 months later or a year later, we can really see the progress because we can measure the before and after. That's fundamental for me. In our society, when you watch a lot of YouTube videos, you often think that some of them dissect biological checkups. That's all well and good. It's interesting. It gives us data, figures, graphs. Still, all of this does not truly reflect the field experience, the follow-up, the clinic, and the reality of being there for someone. There's no substitute for seeing a human being, talking with him or her, talking to the person about his or her experience, history, past, where we are now, etc. To follow the person on a very personal level. Our cures are very personalized. We can give advice during the cure. It's still very individual. We have groups of around 20 people, no more than 22, you might say. There are 3 of us to follow 20 or so people. That's where it stops. We couldn't take groups of 30 or 40. If you see that, it's commercial. It's just not possible. Or many coaches needed. If you have 20 people, up to 22, 23 people, 25, let's say 3, it's still manageable in terms of safety, in terms of the personal support you have, that's okay. But if you have groups where you have 30 people and only one companion on the dry fast, things are going to happen. During the dry fast, people experience symptoms. Are there elimination crises or not? You have to be present here to explain what is happening in the body, the physiology of dry fasting. It's unique. We have many people who are indeed in science, who explain many things. In dry fasting, it is good, especially in the United States. But that doesn't replace the follow-up. Day by day, we are with the faster, and the mirror effects in the group arrive because most of the pathologies that people have, as we can see, are very much linked to the emotional. Young people have created health problems for themselves through somatization, through suffering, through things that are not accepted, that have been repressed. There are programs we've had since childhood from the transgenerational that are strongly ingrained. The young people are sure they have things. They imagine pathologies, things they have. They're full of beliefs. They've been brainwashed. Society has put a lot of ideas into our heads. There's nothing to worry about. To worry too much, but above all, to put everything that happens to us into perspective and then truly make peace with it. Your soul, your heart, your emotions, and come back to yourself. And then at all times in our cures, we have this personalized accompaniment where everyone can come and drop off, whether in the group or individually. We have 3 coaches, 2 of whom are women. For a woman to be able to confide in certain things. There are stories that happen in the bedrooms which the coaches can handle in a very intimate way. There are stories that can't be told in the group but have to be told individually. And then there's no language barrier because we now use programs for Marie-Christine and Heidi, which are not necessarily in multilingual, but now that we have the internet and artificial intelligence, we can translate anything. So there's no longer any language problem. So there you have it. So it's also essential to provide support and security. There are a lot of places where there's no security, where people are left to their own devices. In our accompaniment, we have a very high level of security surveillance, which means that people follow each other. We follow them very, very, very closely. This really helps prevent people from going too far in their fasting, as we see in certain places, which I won't name, that push people to fast way too much. And then we see the problems that have emerged. So we're not into that at all. We're really into very precise monitoring. We try to optimize the person's fasting as much as possible so that they don't exceed their adaptive capacity. That's the key to fasting, in fact. It's about finding the ideal dosage for the individual. That's why we can no longer say you need 5 days, 7 days, 9 days, 10 days, whatever. We can't reason about that. I've made several videos. Dry fasting is day by day. It's a personalized follow-up. We evaluate the person day by day. Things happen. There are realizations at certain moments in the fast that may or may not happen. And you always have to set a very, very wide safety margin and not go too far. There are people who are not ready, and there are fasters who are ready to face quite strong things, and other people who are not ready. So taking them into things that are too difficult is counterproductive. Therefore, you really always have to extract the maximum benefit. We have a very gentle, very mild dry fast, at least in the beginning, because we don't know how the person will come out, how they will react. We'll come back. The key to dry fasting is the exit. It's how it will rise behind. And then afterwards, we can discuss a second or third fast. That's how it goes. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't know how the person will come back. We need the information afterwards. Then we will say exactly when a second treatment needs to be given, or a third one, or a curative effect. It must be understood that dry fasting is currently the only type of fasting that has a definitive curative effect. In other types of fasts, you have few healing effects, or you have to go very, very far with water fasting, which isn't possible for most people. Taking people on a 3 to 4 week water fast is far too long. And then our vitality will take a long time to recover, since we are not doing a dry fast at all. your regeneration and detoxification work is much more important, much faster. And then the recovery is just as rapid, which means that the therapeutic effect, if you manage to get to that famous acidosis crisis, you have the crisis coming and then a real effect. Well, I don't like to talk about healing. I don't like to talk about that. Prefers to speak of remission, but of a curative effect that can be obtained with dry fasting, not always on the first try. And then we saw, yes, people on the first try we had, which includes musculoskeletal diseases, herniated discs, fibromyalgia, Lyme disease. With one treatment, we can get a great result. But we must consolidate afterwards. We must follow up with the person because they only get one shot, just one time. Unfortunately, that might not be enough. That's why we need to consolidate afterwards. So in our method that we have slightly developed, it is a method truly based on holistic support. The psycho-emotional, which is fundamental, as I always say, body, mind, spirit. Everything works body, mind, and spirit. Only deal with one plan. We'd only be dealing with the spiritual. For example, if we forget the physical side, it would be a pity. We'd be missing something. There, handling the mental, the programs we have, that's Marie Christine's role, deprogram beliefs, the stories we made up, the suffering we've inflicted on ourselves, our mind. We take it along in all kinds of stories. The story is, during the fast, a little bit about deconstructing that. Dry fasting pushes towards that because it pushes us to be who we are, so we can no longer live in a deception. And then everything that isn't expressed becomes imprinted on the body. By not expressing things, we create resistance and illness. Dry fasting can express these problems to bring out the issues that have been orchestrated deep within our very cells and our genetics. Being able to express all this in a group or on an individual basis is fundamental. If a fasting center doesn't deal with the emotional and psychological aspects, you shouldn't go there. It's still detox, it's interesting, it's not useless, but it doesn't go deep and you'll get a surface effect. For people who don't want to ask themselves any questions, who don't want to work on themselves, there's no problem. You can come to our cures too, it's free. People who don't want to work on themselves, there's no problem. Dry fasting will have an effect. And when you combine the two together, working on yourself and dry fasting, you have a double effect, a much greater effect. You might as well take it and then get naked in front of the group. It's not that complicated. Even people love it. It's a way of sharing, of creating a group energy together. It's very convivial, very friendly. Myself, I don't even know where to go fasting. There's no place that offers what I'm really looking for. When you've got nothing, you do your dry fast alone at home, but that's not very interesting. Maybe one day another company will spring up. I hope where we'll have this holistic approach. I think we have a film in Italy that's going to come out next year. We have a woman offering this spiritual side. I'm going to look into that, into her method. She developed a method. That's great. There are people who do this, but besides her and us, there is no one. I encourage experienced therapists to start this work. The more people we get into dry fasting, the better it will snowball. The more we can demystify dry fasting, which is taboo for most doctors. Even physicians specializing in naturopathy, individuals involved in functional medicine who are, even though they are ahead of new medicine, they fail to comprehend dry fasting. They are genuinely unaware of our methods, truly not grasping the physiology, and refuse to learn anything, which is quite sad. They haven't been researched, investigated, they've never been with people on it, they've never seen people. But even when we present them with clinical cases where there have been successes, they don't get into it, they don't want to. There is a taboo, there is an omerta, there is a fear of going into something that would have too many results, that would disrupt their system of everything they have learned, that would no longer be useful. These are fears. So there's a lot of, we dry fasters aren't invited by anyone. Very few people are really interested in this method, even though it's spectacular. We have results that are really first rate, far more effective than functional medicine, all the well-known YouTubers you see on the channels. It's important to notice all these folks who are in this alternative field.
If you check the outcomes they have on health problems, there's not a lot there. They sell many dreams with pretty words, but not too many results.
It's all very superficial. Some support is provided. They've made some improvements, but it doesn't go very, very far in the therapeutic effects that these doctors and therapists have. Dry fasting takes you to the next level. Over the course of 2 weeks, you can witness amazing healing effects. Recently, you saw Dusty's account regarding Lyme disease.
He was almost cured after the first treatment.
What doctor can claim to be able to help a person eradicate Lyme disease? You can look.
I'm not throwing myself any flowers. It's a long way off. I didn't do anything. He's the one who was motivated. He believed in a method. He applied it.
He followed a method that we suggest, and success is his. It's not us. We're just here to provide information.
And then the young people practice. Those who come with us or do it on their own, like he did, he made a mix between the two. It's very, very good. That's what I recommend. The mix is very, very good.
You acquire knowledge, you get information, there's online training, there are books.
If you've taken the 2 books, the online training, or come to the spa once, you'll have enough information to be able to repeat your dry fast afterwards. Many people rely solely on the book. They try to fast at home, but unfortunately, they're missing information. They don't understand everything.
They don't have the confidence, because you can only gain confidence when you see 20 or so people fasting with you and you share things.
And then you gain confidence when you're in a group because you have all these mirror effects. There's a whole therapeutic game going on.
It's very interesting. Then you acquire knowledge of the method. If you're a little bit,
you've picked up information like this on YouTube, you've seen testimonials, you've read a book, it's not the same. You'll get less results. It won't be as powerful.
What's more, if you're alone,
everything is more complicated. If you're alone, you don't have, the time is much longer. There's no synergy, no excitement, no well-being.
When you go out, you feel this life force growing.
When you're in a group, when you're alone, you don't have that feeling as much. It's less strong, less powerful.
So that's the art of accompaniment. The art of accompaniment comes from experience acquired in the field. It's the people you see. It's listening. It's not in the books, can't find it. You have to observe how people react, how they sleep, what they do, how their mind works, how they feel about things, maybe the anger that comes to the surface.
You should know there are turbulent zones during the dry fast. There are tensions. You have to be able to be there to frame all that a little. There are 3 of us, so
I can sometimes see what I'm playing in the group. And if you're on your own, there are things going on inside you, but you can't really understand them to explain them to yourself. That's why the art of accompaniment is something you acquire over the years through experience and by following other fasters. And I learn from each person I see. And all that we gain experience, expertise. I don't like to put myself forward in that sense that I'm an expert in something. I prefer to think of myself as a coach, and I learn from it. It's the fasters who teach us how to evolve. Without them, we can't develop, we can't learn, we can't evolve. So it's the fasters who teach us our work. That's what it's all about.
Then it's also a passion, an interest to look for. I researched dry fasting a lot. I'm trying to understand, there are links there. But if there aren't any fasters, we can't really evolve. But after that, you can evolve. Fasting yourself, which is what I do, is a good thing.
In fact, it's one of the prerequisites to be a companion.
You have to fast yourself. If you don't fast yourself, you're out of the game. You don't know what you're doing. There are dry fasting centers, no names, but organizers might have fasted once or twice, then nothing for years.
So they don't know what it is anymore. They are totally out of touch with the concept of a dry fast. Point two C is the people who teach us our work, with whom we can really create a partnership. Over the years, we develop skills that allow us to evolve and progress. That is why dry fasting is progressive. We can't stay in the past, stuck with a method we created 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, whatever, and which no longer moves. That's not what we do anymore. Our fasting methods are evolving. Compared to 5 years ago, the improvement is quite impressive. I measure it myself, and in 5 or 10 years' time, I don't know what it will be. We really need to keep this evolutionary aspect in mind, always wanting to help the person in the right way, and then synthesizing with science, maybe what's being done in nutrition, in terms of energy, what's out there, the tools we bring. We bring in new tools every year. We try to bring new things. We have to listen to people, to the flow of life, in fact. So we accompany individuals who are searching for tranquility, those experiencing emotional blockages, people suffering from chronic fatigue, and those who are completely worn out, people looking for new meaning in their lives. We get a lot of people who come to clean up their lives. We find that a lot of people come for that too. So it's not just people who come to treat pathologies, but people who want to feel better inside, not just physically. It's the whole package, in fact. From the moment you treat the psycho-emotional side, the physical side improves and vice versa. So everything is interwoven, everything is linked. I hear certain pseudo-experts talking about dry fasting and saying the psychological side is useless. They can come learn from us. It makes me laugh because they don't get dry fasting, have been wrong for 40 years and haven't changed. They are totally off topic. We wonder what they do because dry fast support must be holistic. If not holistic, it remains detox. So there are people who want to evolve, and then there are those who want to stay in the past with beliefs and ego. It's what they want, no problem. Everyone's free. So that's the art of accompaniment. Our art of accompaniment is based on experience, on the present moment. There's no secret to it. It requires a great deal of listening and openness, which we try to offer. There's no protocol. We see a lot, particularly in the United States, of protocols based on I don't know what. I respect that. Everyone does what they want. There's no problem with that. But I don't know what. You can't apply protocols. It doesn't work. You can't tell 200 people to dry fast for 7 days, then you'll all get results. So, of course, there will be results. Some will get results, others won't. That's why Je ne sais que has to be personalized. That's why you can't get everyone to do Je ne sais que on exactly the same day. So sure, there's a potential number of people who'll manage to do 7 days, but most won't succeed. That's why we start the Je ne sais que at more or less the same time. Then afterwards, there are little gaps and people stop as the days go by. Days go by and that their capacity for adaptation is not overwhelmed. To say that everyone has to be done in 5 days, 7 days, 9 days, 10 days. In Russia, they have that reasoning. I still think a little. But that's not what we're about anymore. We're really individual, and we really try to optimize for the person who's there, a young person who's efficient. We can't say in advance, I'm wary of protocols, they're not my thing. There are people who do that, but it's not my school. So there you have it. All to the end of this video. So working on oneself, true transformation doesn't come from a technique.
What changes a human being is not an isolated practice. It's not a protocol or a theory as we explain it. What really transforms is listening, introspection, welcoming emotions, the release of old beliefs, the release of the nervous system. I really insist on this in dry fasting because we're perhaps the only ones to offer dry fasting where you really relax the nervous system, because the more you relax the nervous system, the calmer and more relaxed the person, and then he or she can go further in the fast with all the rebuilding and regenerative effects that come with it. If the person has remained stuck in a state of hardness, if there has been no psychoemotional support and the person has remained rigid, how do you expect optimal regeneration to follow? There won't be any good regeneration. That's why relaxing the central nervous system during dry fasting is a fundamental key. I think it's a mistake not to provide emotional support. You really have to be able to, and the more psychoemotional support you provide during dry fasting, the more techniques you can use to relax the nervous system, the calmer the person will be, the more they'll sleep, the better the dry fast, the less they'll suffer, and the more they'll regenerate. So that's the key. That's why in the group we have all these biotherapies we developed to release tension, yoga, and fascia release, the healing method. I repeat, it's not barbaric care as we've seen in the past. It's a fasting center, whether it's Thai massages, Russian massages, massages where you put too much pressure on the person. All that makes the person tense and stressed and creates barriers and blockages. So I don't agree with these fasting centers that force you. I have a friend who blocked his back for 6 months. He got a rough massage at a place I won't name, but that's it. For me, it's a serious mistake. You really need to be able to let go. These are gentle, soft, calm massages. So in our cures, we offer support where people come to put down what they're wearing. It helps them to see things more clearly. They let things emerge that they couldn't see before. People rediscover coherence, simplicity, and an open heart, awareness. We develop these tools. We also use the Turo Dispenza methods. You know this gentleman. Very common in the alternative liberation milieu. His work is excellent. I recommend him for people who are interested. Practicing his meditations, all that is worthwhile. This gentleman's work is interesting. He did it with 5, 6, even 10,000 people, this massage. It's very, very good. When you combine dry fasting with this type of therapy, you've really got something that's really excellent and interesting to do. That's where dry fasting comes in. It's really this accompaniment, this work on oneself, or meditations that unbalance their cowardice and so on. That's good too. So that's it. So it's not necessarily the method that happens, but the work you have to do inside. Why are our courses unique? Because we're the pioneers of psychoemotional support for dry fasting. You won't find this anywhere else. I know there's a center in Russia where they're very much into the spiritual, but well, they don't know, there's not much technique. So they make mistakes like taking salt after a dry fast, which is something you just don't do. They don't know much about nutrition either. So it's all a bit rock and roll. But on the positive side, there's this highly developed spiritual side. But after that, the technical side is a bit lacking because they don't have the nutritional knowledge. You find food and drink in these fasting centers. I'm only talking about dry fasting because I know a bit about what's going on in Russia. I've been there, I've been around a bit. So I know more or less what's going on there. When it comes to dry fasting in Europe, there aren't many people apart from the center you'll see in the film in Italy and the person who accompanies it. I respect his way of doing it. That's good. I have a certain eye for discovering what this person does because I'm curious myself. I'm always going to learn from others what they're doing to understand. I try to see how we can improve. That's what it's all about. And then people can also take what we've done. If people want to learn, you come and see what we want. Like us, we work. There's nothing to worry about.
Dry fasting belongs to everyone, to all mankind. There are no patents filed for these methods. Everyone where he wants to go, and then he's free. So that's all there is to it. So in our accompaniment, we have a presence, an experience, an ability to find what works or what doesn't work in everyone. So Marie Christine and Heidi are coaches who truly possess a deep intuition. They feel things. You have to go to people, and that's what years of coaching experience do. You can't learn that from my books, so that's it. So we've developed an expertise in the field, an understanding of emotional processes, a concrete vision of the different stages each person goes through in their fasting. So there you have it. Also, the capacity to tailor the guidance, providing precisely the right technical advice, all integrated. So that's why we've become a little bit, we're not going to say number one in the field, but effectively we've developed a skill set where we're the only ones to offer emotional support. In dry fasting, which is the most complete fast, I repeat, that is where you get the most results. Whatever pathology you have, whether it's immune or cancer, I put quotation marks around it because it's very complicated. When you have people who already have advanced cancer, you can't expect much from dry fasting. You can only accompany the person, perhaps delaying things a little. But otherwise, above all the rest, be it infections, chronic illnesses, digestive problems, hormonal problems, aches, stress, autoimmune conditions, the immune system, sicknesses, inflammations, metabolic problems. So metabolically speaking, the effects of dry fasts are spectacular. So we now have the most advanced dry fasts in terms of therapeutic efficacy. And if in addition you have support during the dry fast, because that the person can really go back inside, do their introspection during dry fasting, so you have effects that are effective. That's it for today. Long video, but there you go, on the spot to accompany. See you soon. Bye bye.